Groundhog Day, directed by Harold Ramis and starring Bill Murray as weatherman Phil Connors, who is sent to Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania to cover Groundhog Day. The only problem is that whenever he goes to sleep, he wakes up and it's Groundhog Day again. And this happens seemingly infinite number of times until he's forced to change something about his life and make it through onto the next day. And it's really an interesting, even though it's a comedy movie, it goes so much deeper under the surface about the idea of being immortal yet the world not changing around you. How would you change the person you are? And that's an interesting concept, and I think Bill Murray really plays this character well. And it's kind of a Bill Murray type character, if you know what I'm saying. But he really, his reactions to the people and things happening, especially the first couple of resets, is really what makes this movie funny. And his interaction with the people, seeing from his perspective and just completely like baffling everyone else who he's talking to in the town is really funny. And especially towards the beginning of the movie, it's really funny to see how he plays with the idea of, you know, whatever I do today, it's not going to matter because it's just going to reset again tomorrow, which will be today again. And the different things he does knowing this is what really makes this movie funny, and while still progressing the plot of the film. One of the funniest parts of this movie is actually seeing the same interactions go completely differently and how other characters react. Because one day he'll be all mad and confused while talking to the same person, and the next day he's just messing with them, and that's where you get the most funny moments in this movie. Is kind of the shock factor of what is he gonna do in these same interactions that he's done over and over and over again. And you know, by the end of the movie, he knows everyone's story, and that's how he can prove that he is. That he has been stuck in that same day. And man, this is just a really funny movie. I definitely recommend going to watch it if you haven't. And if you have, this is definitely one to rewatch. Unless you completely didn't like it the first time, but even then, I invite you to, you know, watch it again and kind of look, you know, under the surface and see what this movie can tell you about your own life, you know, and how you're living it. Actors' performances, you have Bill Murray, of course, and a standout character that doesn't get a lot of screen time is Needle-Nose Ned the Head. Man, every time that character's on screen, he's such a character, you know, and everyone knows, not everyone, but most people know who that is, even though he has kind of an obscure role. And actually, the actor that plays him, Ned Ryerson, he plays a character named Bob on Heroes, and they're completely different characters. And just seeing him watching this, it was funny. This is the first time I've seen this movie all the way through. I think I've seen the first 20-30 minutes of it about like 4 times, but I finally watched the whole thing. And this is definitely one of those movies that you should watch start to finish and just enjoy, you know? So that being said, definitely check this out if you haven't. If you had, this is definitely one for a rewatch. Moving on into the spoiler talk, I guess. This movie kind of moves in phases, you know? It's the initial shock of you know, seeing like this is, it's the same day over and over again. And that moves on into, you know, I can do whatever I want and no consequences. And then it moves into the getting to know Rita, that's her name, sorry, I couldn't remember. Getting to know her and trying to, pick her up, I guess. And then after that, it moves on into the self betterment, I guess, and then the suicidal phase, or no, sorry, suicidal phase, and then that's the turning point, where he says, where he convinces her that this is actually happening, and he says that he wants to prove that he's good enough for her, and that's when the self betterment phase starts. That gets into the completion and moving on into the next day, and I thought it was really interesting how he tries all this stuff, and he starts thinking, I can do this, so why not? And then it kind of gets to the point where it's too much for him, and that's when he goes into the suicidal phase. And the first time he thought that it would kill him, so it takes a lot for him to get up to that point. But then he wakes up the next day anyway, so it's kind of like he can't escape from it no matter what he does. So then it just gets to the point that he does it to speed things up. And during that one scene, the cameraman, when he dies one of those times, the cameraman says, he was such a great guy, kind of sarcastically. And that's, as the audience, we kind of, maybe not foreshadowed, but that we kind of realized that that's what's going to happen, is that he's going to need to get himself to become a better person. And, the final day, where it's actually the final day, and he goes and he saves, like, 6 people, or he does all this stuff to people that he's already met. And, I'm not sure if I remember correctly, but the old guy who dies, if that he tried to help save, if he finally decided that he couldn't, and then he tries to help everyone else after that, I think that's kind of what starts the snowball rolling, into him trying to help as many people as he can that he works with. Sorry, I was just thinking the one really funny scene towards the end of the movie was when the kid falls out of the tree, and he's like, "You never said thank you. How many times have we done this, and you still don't say thank you?" So overall, this movie, I thought, I was laughing out loud like a lot of the first half, and the second kind of gets into the deeper side ideologically, and and it really starts to get you thinking about what you would do if given the same situation. And although there are still some good jokes in, I wasn't laughing as much. And then the happy ending, and they ended it really in a good way, I thought, personally. I like the way that they ended it, how he finally learned, he fixed his lifestyle, and he'll continue to live that lifestyle, and I guess he had learned his lesson from the whole ordeal. And I thought it was a nice touch how, at the very beginning when he was asking Rita those questions about what she wants in a man, and she says to learn how to play an instrument, and he learns the piano. And I just thought it was that scene, especially where the lady kicks the girl out because he has $1,000. That was another one of the scenes from the second half that that you just have, that's just laughing. And there was so many good moments in this movie where you just found yourself laughing, kind of partially as shock value, but also just because what's happening is funny. Like, it's a believable enough situation, but still with an element of this isn't real. And I think they really found the right mix there. And man, this is a quality movie, and I definitely recommend you watching it. So, let's get down to it. Where does Groundhog Day rate in my top 100 favorite movies? I put it at 27, just above Star Wars The Force Awakens, and just below Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Now remember, this is my first watching of this film, So there's definitely room for growth on subsequent re-watchings. I try to not put, movies too high up the first time I see them, but this definitely has some room for growth. It's pretty good. So once again, thanks for watching. Please leave a comment on anything you want to say, and please subscribe if you haven't, if you like this content. And thanks for watching. Once again, this has been another Rainy Tuesdays movie review. Thank you. Considering that Phil Connors breaks the loop and it takes him so long to do it, it feels a bit like the monkey in the typewriter, am I right?